Aftersun is about a young father and his 11-year-old daughter on holiday at a resort in Turkey, the late 1990s, told through the point of view of the young girl as an adult looking back. The original idea was a young father and his daughter on holiday. Like, that was definitely always the core of it, and I think it was like first inspired by honestly just flipping through old family photographs, which coincided with the point at which I was thinking about what a feature might be. And yeah, just being struck by how young my dad looked in those pictures. My parents were fairly young when I was born, and I was approaching the age that he was in them. And so that was the seed that it began from, was just this young father and daughter who could be mistaken for siblings abroad together. I think like in the early stages, it began as a bit more of a conventionally structured piece about these two people who go on holiday in this very kind of confined resort area and then find reason to leave it and kind of explore the place that they are. But I think over the course of writing, it just became a bit more personal. Like, it began to be more informed by specific memories, not from a holiday, but kind of from throughout childhood, and I allowed that to form the outline kind of the script, of the very first draft of the script, even though I had been kind of developing the idea and building out the world for a while.
So yeah, I play Callum, the young father. He's separated from his wife. He's an excellent father, which I think was hugely important to the film and what drew me to it. And he's kind of battling his own demons throughout the course of the film. Pretty kind of like it was a standard kind of audition process, reading the script, standard insofar as that. But I remember reading it having kind of like a profound response to it, and was chasing my agents to try and set up a meeting with Charlie, which happened, and I think we just kind of got on straight away and had a kind of common understanding of who Callum was and what was important to both of us with that character. So yeah.
I think like in the weeks leading up to Paul's arrival in Turkey, where I had already been prepping, like we would just chat on the phone, like once or twice a week in that period, just discussing scenes, discussing motivations, discussing character. I gave Paul we had one conversation where I was like, this is my sense of the character and what he's experiencing. You can have that information, you can take what you want from it, you can bring what you would like to it, but just so you know where I am starting from.
Mm-hmm.
And then obviously that gives Paul some foundation that he can build on.
Yeah, it's a way that I love to work. It's just kind of like broad, free form conversations, which I think actually was really like to sit down and not have the pressure to rehearse anything, or just long form conversations with Charlie wrote. It's like really invaluable to then when you get on the ground and you're under time pressure, you have this kind of bank of information to go back to, which is invaluable.
Well, this was invaluable because we were working with young Frankie Corio, who was 10, turned 11 while we were on set. And, so much of the shoot was centered around her and her experience. Obviously, her hours were fairly restricted because she's young and she'd never acted before. And so much of the experience can cater to bringing out the best in her, which is where the work that we had done previously really shone through, because we didn't need to have those conversations on set. We'd been slowly kind of accumulating like an understanding of the character together. And so set was just about setting up an environment where these guys could feel like they had the kind of familial intimacy, or the ability to portray that familial intimacy, just giving Frankie space to make mistakes and to surprise us, which he did every day.
Yeah. There was definitely room for spontaneity, but I feel like the script or the spoken words in the film are pretty much totally scripted. There's a couple of moments in which Frankie and Sophie definitely surprised with like a line or even like a physical response to certain specific moments that happen in the film, but it felt spontaneous but not improvised, if that makes sense.
Yeah, you're right. I think in a way the most unscripted parts were the physicality of Frankie's responses, because while she's very different from the character, she also there are similarities and there are differences, but where the differences lie were just always where the nicest surprises also lay. Like Frankie doesn't really like sitting in feelings that are sad. And so if you're in a scene that's fairly sad, she would really kind of rally her way around it. But in terms of the words, they're fairly close to the page. There are definitely moments that we found during rehearsals that then kind of were written into the script. I mean, I had a playlist that I worked from that I'd been listening to throughout shooting, but ultimately it became what felt best in the scene. And the editor I was working with is American, could not care less about British popular music from the 1990s. And so he would bring in, you know, whatever felt right for the moment, which was nice because I think that's the right way to work. You don't want to force a song that you love into a scene that it's not going to serve. And fortunately, there were scenes where the music I loved did serve it. And there were certain ones that were kind of baked in, like the karaoke sequence to R.E.M's Losing My Religion. That was always in the script. Even as I was asked to come up with alternatives, I just wasn't quite sure what they'd be. And I think the songs always dance a line between being relevant to the scene, being a little bit too on the nose, but sometimes leaning into that and sometimes leaning away from it. And then allowing the score to also feed into that. I mean, there are definitely significant moments throughout the film where score and soundtrack converge. And that's always really fun for me.
Yeah, I normally have a playlist for all the characters that I play. And I asked Charlie to share her playlist. I just find it like a useful kind of non-literal way into stuff. And yeah, one of the first auditions I did was for Charlie was non-verbal. Take a video of yourself kind of in the kitchen dancing but not dancing to Blur for about 3 minutes. So Blur was a big kind of like hugely part of the preparation for me.
There was lots of 80s stuff on that because I sent a Callum playlist to Paul.
Yeah.
Like I'm sure you had your own. I sent one to Frankie, which she hated. She hated
Yeah,
every
she
single
was
track on it.
Olivia Rodrigo heavy.
Yeah. She wasn't interested in catching up on 90s pop.
Yeah.
But yeah, I tried to include some older stuff on the Callum soundtrack, and there is like a Deacon Blue track in the film when he has headphones in, because it felt important that it not just be music from like 97, 8, you know, maybe sneaking
like
into
would have
9.
been listening to.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
you tend to listen to what came
Totally.
before, and so it was trying to find a way that allowed music to signify quite a specific period, but also feel authentic, that you'd bring in things from before. I mean, I think having already screened the film a little bit, people seem to feel emotionally connected to the arc of the film, and so I don't feel a pressure to kind of dictate what people are taking away, because I'm quite happy with the feeling that they seem to be connecting to, and I do tend to think about films in terms of feeling versus any more concrete, you know, expression. But I think ultimately it's a film that ends on a note of loss, but that is not overshadowed, or that the love does not is not diminished by the loss that kind of occurs at the end of the film.
Yeah, I want people to. I don't like telling people what to feel about it, so I just please go see our movie.
Yep.
Yeah, that's the main thing.